This is Algebra 2, Chapter 5, Unit 7. Today we're going to look at operations with functions. So it's important to remember you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions. So let's look at an example. If the function of x equals 3x minus 7 and g of x equals 13 minus 2x, find f of x plus g of x. So what we're going to do here is we are going to set this up. We are going to put inside our parentheses our f of x, which is 3x minus 7. And then we're going to put in a separate parentheses our g of x, which is 13 minus 2x. And we're going to add those together. So when we add together, we look for like terms. So we have 3x plus negative 2x, which is going to be x. And we have negative 7 plus 13, which is going to be 6. So our answer is going to be equals x plus 6. This new function is now denoted as f plus g of x. So let's look at the operations. These are kind of what the new denotion is. You have sum and you have f plus g of x equals f and x plus g of x. Then you have difference, f minus g of x equals f times f of x minus g of x. Product, f times g of x equals f of x times g of x. And last quotient, you have f divided by g is going to be times x is going to equal function of x divided by g of x. So let's look at some more examples. So we are given the following functions. F of x equals x squared minus 8x plus 4. G of x equals 4x minus 3. H of x equals x plus 2. So we want to find each function. Indicate any restrictions on the domain. So our first one is going to be f plus g of x. So we know that our f of x is this x plus x squared minus 8x plus 4, and our g of x is going to be 4x minus 3. So we're going to add those two together. So we're going to set it up in parentheses, separate them by parentheses and addition sign, and we're going to add like terms. We have x squared right here, and in the g function, we don't have any x squared terms, so it's just going to be x squared. Next, we're going to look at this negative 8x. Over here, we're going to have negative 8x plus 4x, which is going to equal negative 4x. And then we have this positive 4 plus negative 3, which is going to equal 1. So our answer is going to be x squared minus 4x plus 1. Our domain is going to be all real numbers, because you can input any real numbers into that function. Now let's look at one where our domain is going to be a little bit more restricted. So number 4, we have the f of x divided by h of x. So remember from the previous slide, our f of x function is x squared minus 8x plus 4. And then our denominator is going to be our h function, which is x plus 2. Now we go ahead and we see if we can divide or factor anything out. Well, in this case, both the top and bottom are prime, so as long as x does not equal negative 2, then you can use any number. If x were negative 2, so negative 2, then your denominator would end up being 0. So if we had a negative 2 right here, it would be negative 2 plus 2 equals 0, and that it just wouldn't work. So your domain is x as long as it does not equal 0. Excuse me, x as long as it does not equal negative 2. Now try problems 2 through 3 and 5 through 6 on your own. Find the domain and the answer to the problem. Go ahead and pause this video while you do so. Here are the answers for 2, 3, 5, and 6. Now let's look at some more examples. We're given some new functions in this. So our f of x equals 2x squared minus x, our minus 12. Our g of x equals x plus 7, and we want to find each value. So problem number 7, we're looking for f plus g minus 2. So with that, negative 2. So with that negative 2, we're going to go ahead and plug that into our first function, our f function. So we're going to go ahead and plug in f equals negative 2. So that's going to be our x value. So we're going to take 2 times negative 2 squared. So negative 2 squared equals 4 times 2 equals 8. And then we have negative minus negative 2 minus negative 2, which turns into a positive 2. So 8 plus 2 equals 10 minus 12, which equals negative 2. Next, we are going to go ahead and plug in this negative 2 into our g function and solve for g. So you have g equals negative 2, because we're plugging in this function, this answer, into our function, negative 2 plus 7, and that is going to equal 5. So our answer, so then we solve for it, we have negative 2 plus 5 equals 3. Now, I want you to try and solve numbers 8 through 10 on your own. Here are the answers for numbers 8 through 10. Compositions of functions. Another method to combine functions is called composition. Given function of x and g of x, the composite function f times g of x is defined as f times g of x equals f parentheses g parentheses x and parentheses. So let's look at some examples and break that down a little bit more. Here we're given a couple more functions. We're given f of x equals x cubed plus 8, g of x equals x minus 1, and h of x equals 5x minus 3. We want to find each function. So we're going to look at number 11 first. We have f times g of x. So our f function is going to be this x cubed plus 8. And so in number 11, we have where we plug in our x value, we're just going to plug in that g. So we have x minus 1 is our g value. So we're going to plug in x minus 1 for x in our first function. Now we are, so we have x minus 1 cubed plus 8. Next, we have to make sure we just don't go ahead and cube x and cube 1. We have to set each binomial apart. So we have to go ahead and put 3 binomials of the same thing. So x minus 1, x minus 1, and x minus 1. Then we have to go ahead and solve each one. So we go ahead and take x times x equals x squared, x times negative 1 equals negative 1x, negative 1 times x equals negative 1x, so that'll be negative 2x, and negative 1 times negative 1 equals positive 1. Then we bring down that third binomial of x minus 1, and we put that down there, and we have our positive 8. Next, we go ahead and keep foiling x squared times x times squared times negative 1, negative 2x times x, negative 2x times negative 1, and then 1 times x, 1 times negative 1, plus 8. Okay, so we are left with x cubed minus x squared minus 2x squared plus 2x plus x minus 1 plus 8. Now we need to go ahead and combine like terms. When we do that, we get x cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x plus 7. So go ahead and pause the video and work through that on your own. Now I would like you to also try numbers 12 through 14 on your own. Here are the answers for 12 through 14. Now let's look at some examples. We want to use the same functions that we previously used for the last set of problems, where x cubed plus 8 and x minus 1 and 5x minus 3. So we want to find number 15 is g times h when x is 2. So we want to go ahead and take h and 2, and we're going to go ahead and substitute this 2 in for the x and h. So remember our h function was set up like fx minus 3. So f times our x value, which is 2, minus 3. So 5 times 2 equals 10, minus 3 equals 7. Now we go ahead and plug that 7 into our g function. So we have our g function, if you remember, is x minus 1. So we plug in our 7 for x, and we have 7 minus 1, which equals 6. So our solution is 6. Now, if you would try number 16 on your own. Here's the answer to number 16. I kind of walked you through it so you can kind of get a little bit better to see where you might have made a mistake if you didn't get the same answer as I did. Now, complete homework number 7 on your own, please. Thank you.